Okay, so I'd like to show you now some of the more interesting program development programs, such as assemblers and whatnot. Just before I do that though, I just wanted to show that you can do a stat on every file in the directory. And what it does is shows how many records each file consumes and the number of bytes and how many extents they are covering. These are smaller files, so they all fit in one extent. If you have more than one extent, then the file has multiple directory entries, because you can only fit 16K or 16 blocks. Each block is 1024 bytes, so you can only fit 16K. So these files are all under 16K. That's why they only cover one extent. At any rate, we're going to create an assembly language file, source file. Now, I'm just going to create a very simple program. Normally, you would use WordStar in the non-document mode, and that would be your editor. But CP/M does come with a built-in ASCII editor. It's called ed. It's a built-in. There it is, right there. It's not built-in. It's a transient command, external transient command, but it's a very awkward editor. But we'll try it. You have to give it a file name, otherwise it complains. So let's just create something new here. Let's just call it source.asm. And you're greeted with an asterisk, which doesn't tell you much. Since it's a new file, we're going to insert. So you type an I, and now it's ready to accept commands. So you can tab over, which is the normal way of formatting a source file, and we'll do a first. I want to use capitals here. Hold on. Okay, so you do your org statement. 0100 hex, then line 2 we're going to say loop, and then we're going to jump to loop, and I'm going to do a Control Z to close the editing. And now to look at this file, you can do a T. A T is a type command, but you see we're at the end of the file, so you're typing one line that's at the end. So to go back, you have to type a minus. I'm just going to put 10 lines, 10L. I mean, there's only 3 lines there, but in general you go back somewhat, and then you can type 10 lines forward. And then you get your listing. It's, as I said, it's a very awkward editor, but you can actually go into a particular line. So if you want to edit line 2, you can go to 2 by hitting carriage return, and if you want to change a letter in the middle, that's quite something. What you have to do is say C, and then look at it, and I've moved one character. If you do CC, or you put the number 2 and a C and then type it, we're there. So if I want to change the letter P to the letter D, then I would insert a D, and then I have to press Control Z, otherwise the carriage return would actually put a new line feed after that. Okay? So now again, minus 10L, 10 type, and you can see now I've got that inserted D. If you want to delete the P, well, make sure you're on line 2, otherwise you're deleting line 1. And then you'd say, for example, character to O, character to O, character to D, and now you do a delete of one character, enter, and now if you type the line, well, we'll see we're on the next line. Yeah, oh, what happened? See, that's the trouble with ed. Okay, minus 10L, 10T. Okay, I guess I took out the D rather than the P. One, two, three. 1, 2. Yeah, I guess that's what happened. And then okay. Anyway, we're back where we want it to be. So that's it for editing. So we just type E for end, and we've got our simple little program. Now let's just do a normal type. And what was the name of the program? Source.asm. Type source.asm. And there's our very simple assembly language program. Org 0100. That means that's where the program will start. And we will jump back to itself. So it's a very simple looping program. So let's call the assembler now. So we type ASM source. This is going to assemble in 8080 assembler. We'll create the machine code. So we'll just see this in a second. And if we do a directory, we'll see that there are some new files here. There's a source.print file and a source.hex file. Let's type the source.prn. And you'll see there's my program. That was the assembly language program. And the assembler is sort of like a compiler, assembler. And it created the machine code. A C3 instruction in an 8080 microprocessor is a jump instruction. Jump to, and there's 2 bytes here because it's an address. And you put the least significant byte first, so it's 0100. And at 0100, this happens to be the same line as the address, so it loops to itself. That's it. Okay. Now we can type the source.hex file to see what that's all about. And this is the Intel S record format. So you can see the C3 jump statement is there. And the nice thing about a hex file is that it's in ASCII. So if you need to go in and change 1 byte in the program without wanting to go and edit the source file, just to change the actual code, you can just go in there using ed and change a byte there using the ed editor. Okay, so now we want to actually create an executable file. So how do we do that? Well, we will use the load command. We will load the source. It takes the hex file. Okay, and let's do a directory. And we have a new file, source.com, and that's an executable binary code file. Now you can't really type it because you're trying to look at ASCII, and they're not ASCII characters in there, so it's some funny little thing, and then the rest is blank. But you can use a dump command, dump source.com, and there is the actual object code and the address, the relative address. This is actually going to be loaded at 0100, but in the file at offset 0 is the jump instruction. Jump to 0100. Least significant byte always goes first. So 0100. And this will actually start at 0100, but in the file here it's 0000. And actually, this is the file I meant that you could edit if you needed to change a byte. Let me think about that. No, you can't edit that here. You can use hex edit, which is on my Windows machine, but here you would have to use the Intel S record file if you want to change a byte, and then redo load command, and then you would get the new version in there. So I can run this program, but if I do that, the computer will jump from address 0100 back to 0100 continuously. But let's try it. And that's exactly what's happening, and there's nothing you can do to get out unless you do a cold boot. So the program is actually executing at this point. So I will have to do a cold boot to get out of there. So we just wrote our first little assembly language program, assembled it, and looked at the print file and the srecord hex file, and then we created the actual program binary. And this is it. CP/M is an ideal environment for program development. In addition to business programs such as WordStar, SpellStar, CalcStar, and BASIC, Fortran, COBOL. I'm eventually going to get all these programs, these legacy programs, on this on floppy, and then run it on this machine and learn the languages. So there you have it, a working CP/M system from the 1970s.